you get 0% of what you don't ask for.
No marketing budget, two people, and somehow a nationally recognized awards show. Today's guest has built something from nothing, and it will just provide the best blueprint for business owners who are looking to conserve their resources and do the same. So, welcome, Andrew Ward, to the Joe Show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Take me back to the beginning of the awards, Andrew. You know, when you started it, what made you think I'm going to start an awards show? And did people tell you that it was you know, an idea you should put in the bin, or did they support it?
I mean, we always knew that it would be an uphill battle starting an award show from scratch, but it was when I started working in reality television, I noticed there was no official award show. There was a thing a long time ago Fox did, and it was like all splashy, and it was just making us look like we were not that good. It was like it was Paris Hilton jumping around, and they were kind of making fun of it. So we wanted to make an award show that honored people behind the camera and in front of it, and something that people could take home a statue and be proud of the work they do. So
Hmm.
we noticed that there was nothing out there like that. And I gathered a whole bunch of friends together, and this was our after work. We were making time, our 6 p.m. to midnight, sometimes every night. We were just brainstorming, what kind of categories do we want to do? And this was all blood, sweat, and tears, so they call it, and putting it together. That's kind of
Mm.
how we started is we wanted to honor people working behind the scenes, and there just really wasn't anything out there for that.
We'll get into how you've built that in a moment. You get over a couple of million votes for these things, is that right?
Yeah. So we're announcing our 12th annual winners, but yeah, these are votes from all around the world that come in because it starts with an Academy vote. We have the Academy of Reality Television, and industry professionals will vote. They narrow it down to the nominees, and then the public decides the final vote. And it's really fun because every year we'll look to see where these votes are coming from. And we always joke that there was a vote tracked from the Rock of Gibraltar. So I don't know if somebody was on a ferry over to Africa or something where they were, it registered to the Rock of Gibraltar. So we love that it's voices from all around the world, and reality TV is so ubiquitous everywhere. I mean, look at, a show like The Traders that's in, I think, over 40 countries right now. So it's
Yeah.
reality is something that's continuing to boom. And that's why, we're so excited to have this award show to honor all that.
What did you sort of think success would look like when you started it? And has that changed, or has it just kind of grown in size over the years?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. We started in 2012 developing the idea. And initially we're like, well, we want to be on TV because linear television, the regular broadcast television, that was the thing to be on. And then streaming has gotten more and more and more. And
Mm.
now we're even going into vertical micro dramas, they call them, like on TikTok, these 30-second, 60-second episodes. So it's the entire market has changed. So our success ideas have changed. This year we're doing our first ever vertical award show. So
Mm.
we're now catering to people on their phones all the time.
Yeah.
So it's, what we think as success has definitely changed throughout the years. And
Mm.
I feel like day to day with AI and the ways of different marketing, it's you always got to be thinking kind of what's next. And success is kind of what you make of it, I guess, too.
Mm. Have you had any moments where something might have almost killed the whole project and you just thought, oh, just going to walk away from this? Or is it just been driven the whole way through?
Oh, there's definitely been moments where like if we're not hitting what we seem a success, we wanted to quit. I think it's been myself or the co-creator Kristen, the same. It's we have regular jobs all the time too, and this has been our side project. But
Mm.
sometimes life gets so overwhelming that you just want to walk away, and I think that's happened a lot. And I think a lot of business owners would relate to that. It's just sometimes something is too much, but we've somehow persevered and we're still here and going, but um, it's hard when you want your business to do well,
Mm.
and everyone's always pushing themselves, which everyone should. In the beginning, we always wanted to be on a big TV. We wanted to be on prime time, but now people pay to submit their shows every year, and that funds us enough to keep going. In the beginning, we didn't charge anything for submissions. We wanted to kind of plant the seed to everyone. We were basically giving everyone a free trial, and now they're hooked. So now
Mm.
we're working directly with networks and production companies and executive producers submitting these shows directly, and they pay to submit the show because they understand the prestige behind winning one of these awards.
It's a good model, isn't it? Just follow the, free trial, and then when it's proven its value, people are happy to contribute, and it keeps it
Yeah.
going. So with SEO too, what sort of strategies have you found have worked for the awards?
Yeah, with SEO, I've been learning a lot recently with the advancement of AI. And it's and I've been doing a lot recently. We just remodeled our website, and the different kind of headers and schema and learning JSON, all these things you're putting in your website. It's no longer just the SEO, because that's if someone's Googling. You have to have your website searchable for AI agents. So you have to know, all these little coding that go behind the scenes. They have AI tools and stuff for now that too. But if you're going to Chat GPT or OpenAI and you're asking it, hey, I want to um, find what kind of award shows in reality television. If your website is not properly set up to
Mm.
market behind the scenes, that AI is going to have trouble reading it.
Mm.
I'm learning about things like Wikidata, even that helps feed AI. So it's a lot of these things that are nearly free marketing for yourself, that kind of can help you behind the scenes. That we don't always have time to think about these kind of things. So when I do, that's what I did recently with the site, is made sure it was AI ready.
It's just so important. I kind of find it ironic that we used to try to stop bots crawling our site too much because bot traffic was seen as junk. And now it's like, no, we need to bring the bots and we need to welcome them in and make sure they know how to find their way around. Your next customer
Yeah.
is not a human is kind of the slogan. And it's just a different way for people to think about things. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you've talked about sort of unconventional PR. Can you give me an example of something that you've done that was really unconventional but has worked really well?
Yeah. I mean, I know that going after, talent to be in the show, whether they're the winner or presenter. I joke that to reach these talent, we've done everything but sent a carrier pigeon to their house with a note on it. So when we're trying to see if these reality stars want to be, part of our show in any way, we will message them on all social media platforms. We usually start by going to their PR rep, because a PR rep wants a free opportunity for talent exposure. So that's
Mm.
the number one person. If you're trying to reach talent, is to go to that contact. And then next we'd go to the manager, and next we go to the agent. And we usually don't like to go to the agent because they want some money. They're looking at dollar signs. Um, but in terms of PR, um, reaching talent, but in terms of like a PR stunt, or something, I think a lot of our PR would be grassroots. We want people to be talking about us. So one thing that we decided to spend money on was our actual physical award. It's a very nice statue, and you hold it. We wanted to make sure it had weight to it. It looked good, and people would showcase it off. So now when people are winning these, we ship them the award if we're not having a live in-person event, and they're posting on all the social media and they're tagging us. So
Mm.
it's, we spend, what, about $400 making these statues each, but the free PR we're getting from them is well worth its weight,
Mm.
because as you know, marketing and ad budgets it can easily skyrocket. If you're on TikTok or YouTube pushing those, you're easily blowing through hundreds of dollars, and moments. I
Mm.
know on X, even I remember putting in a budget and immediately it was gone. So it can market to as many people as you want. But we see more the PR opportunity when you don't have a huge budget, um, is, spending it. I'll actually show you one of the statues.
Show us the silverware.
This is it.
Oh, very nice.
And it's got like a little frame in there
Yeah.
because a mirror. When we designed it, we wanted it to be, a height similar to others, and really have that weight. So it's impressive.
Really good way to seed that organic engagement for people to spread it out. It's really tricky if you can't track your ad spend really precisely. I love e-commerce because you can track it quite well. Lead generation, yes, but if you're just sort of throwing it out there for people to submit, I guess you could have a lead form confirmation event to track. But again, that cost per acquiring that lead might add up considerably in the beginning. So I think the way you've started to
Yeah.
do that's a really good way to do it. So if it's you and Kristen running this thing on your own, how do you describe? How do you sort of decide what you're going to get done and what you're going to not get done? Like it's a lot of work when you're doing it after work.
Yeah. I mean, we've gone through a whole bunch of iterations. We have people that we bring on, occasionally when we need their help. So our kind of third arm is John Vara, and he comes in and books all of our talent because
Mm,
that's kind of his wheelhouse, and he knows exactly how to get them. He has the personal relationships with them. And then we have a social media manager,
mm,
that will do our posts, because initially we were trying to do all the posts, and that's so much to keep up with because every network, as you know, is slightly different. So when we spend money, like we spend money on the physical awards and social media, and then the rest of it we're doing. So,
mm.
and Kristen is a mom of two. So she's juggling the kids, she's juggling casting projects, and then she's also juggling the award show. So there'll be
She,
times where, she's slammed and she can't do anything, and I pick up the slack and vice versa. So I think
mm,
it's trying to figure out, you know, time management,
mm,
because I feel like a lot of people have full-time jobs and they're working on 3 or 4 side projects, but you gotta make time for it. So that's why kind of earlier we're talking about sometimes I'm having a meeting at midnight because I'm in London and, in the US, LA's 8 hours before.
mm.
So
So Kristen's looking after casting and she's a mother, and you're also producing at 10 Live Studios. You've produced Katy Perry, Alicia Keys, Hollywood Vampires. Do those things feed each other, those projects, or do they pull you in opposite directions kind of in your brain and on your schedule, or does it flow well?
yeah, I mean, you I feel like you do get pulled apart a lot of the times, but because me and Kristen work so well together, when I'm working on, a project like Peter Frampton, we've been working on that for 3 years. And there is times where, it was heavy shoot schedules and I'd have to go, lean on Kristen, or if we're both busy, then we'll hire contractors to help work with us too.
Mm,
So I think it's being realistic about, the time, and knowing what we can and can't do, because you don't want to
mm,
burn out either. I think that's been the risk in the past as well, is when we've wanted to quit the awards, it's because we're burnt out. We're doing too much. We're burning the candle at two ends. So I think
mm.
the biggest thing we've learned over the years is to know when to ask for help.
You're a great example of what you can build after work. Reality television, gets a bad rap, but it can also teach you a lot about storytelling. How does that thinking show up in how you've run your business, and how does it sort of influence what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I always see reality television as a fly on the wall. You want to know exactly what's on the other side of the fence. You want to know if someone's life is completely different from yours or the same. It's bringing this intrigue, to television, and whether it's Master Chef, a cooking show, or Vanderpump Rules or The Housewives, where it's like a guilty pleasure show. It's all about that intrigue, I think. And ever since I was a kid, I was intrigued into Hollywood and how film and television was made. So me starting in reality television in Hollywood was every day is different. And I think
Mm.
that that should translate to, doing whatever you do for work, you should love what you're doing. And I think that having a different schedule every day and being creative and having that outlet is what can make you successful in business and your job. And there's that, cheesy quote, do what you love and you'll never work another day in your life. And that's kind of, people are like, oh, you have such a cool job. And I'm kind of like, I know. I wanted to be here.
Which do each day as suits you. I love it. So with AI, what are you using sort of built-in tools at your site you've mentioned? Is there anything else on the frontier that you're doing with AI specifically or exploring?
Yeah. So I feel like every day, every hour, there's a new AI update. And I think that in general, I get how people can be scared of AI because it might be coming for their job. I treat it as it's kind of like an additional helper for me. I can be more efficient doing things. That means I can be doing more things. And one problem we had over the years was keeping the website updated. It's we're using WordPress and it's at times user friendly, and then it has an error on a plugin or something, and I'm like, I'm not a coder. I don't know what that means, and we can't afford a full time coder for the website. So one of the tools we used recently was Perplexity, and
Mm,
I've been using that on a lot, but specifically Perplexity Computer. So that is a more intense AI that almost makes big to-do lists and can run several agents at one time. So I started playing with it and I said, hey, we need to update our website. This is the current website. And I kind of just gave a big long paragraph of what I was envisioning. And then it went to work. It started showing me examples, it made mock-ups, and then it started implementing all of it. And I would say a completely made from scratch website, ended up taking back and forth me talking to it a couple weeks, but the initial mock-up was ready in hours and it
mm,
looked amazing.
mm.
Um, and I would say, Perplexity Computer works off of tokens. So you do pay more, but I would say a website from scratch was probably less than $1,000, which probably would have cost $20,000 to $25,000 and took about 8 weeks.
Mm.
So it is really taking the time down and adding elements. Like on our website, we have an entire history of all of our winners, and you can go search by a name or a network, and it will give you a total of how many wins, how many nominations. It's something that I would have no idea how to build.
Mm.
Um, so it's kind of taking whatever you have and elevating it and speeding everything up.
So it's a really great practical example for anybody listening. If you want to see what a website can look like when Perplexity Computer builds it with a little
Yeah.
back and forth, go and have a look at the American Reality Television Awards site. So, what's the biggest mistake that you might have made in the first few years that you'd tell someone else not to let that happen to them?
I would think one of the biggest is proofreading. And you release winners or nominees and something is spelled slightly wrong or a production company is slightly wrong. So in the beginning, we were doing things too quickly. There was too few of us and mistakes can happen all the time, but we've,
Oh.
either had, six nominees, but maybe we only announced five of them or forgot in the beginning. So it was crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and really spending the time to make sure that everything is correct.
When you talk about doing more with less, a lot of us, people would hear that and think it just means work harder, damn it. But I don't think that's the solution, and I don't think that's what you'd be recommending. But how would you articulate how people should think about doing more with less?
I always think of out of the box thinking to be, a roadblock remover, because there's a lot of times of like, how do we possibly do this? And I think our first year of the award show, um, a lot of things fell into place. And I always think you get 0% of what you don't ask for. And I think sometimes in our mind, we're thinking, okay, this seems so overwhelming, or we couldn't possibly do this, but just ask. And then if that doesn't work, try something else. But the
Mm.
very first year, Uber sponsored our event, and they offered Black car service to every single attendee. So
Awesome.
when we were booking these reality stars to come before that, the problem was every people are going to ask for car service. We don't
Mm.
have budget for that. What do we do? So we asked Uber, and they came through. Uber wouldn't have come through. It would be another out of the box thinking, or just, let people know simply we don't have the budget. And you might lose talent, but it's continue to have that relationship with talent and managers. And I think that being honest goes a far way. We've never paid any presenters at the awards, and we've kept it that way all the way through. And that's the way we do things. But yeah, out of the box thinking of it's so easy to say, oh, well, we can't do it this way. So we think of A, B, C, and D plans. And that's kind of anytime I'm doing something, I'm thinking, okay, if this fails, what's next?
Mm.
And it's really easy to get defeated when you have something in your mind. I'm going to do it this way, and that fails. Of course, you immediately, a natural human instinct, you're like, oh, well, I can't do it, and you throw your hands up in the air. So I think it's getting excited about the different possibilities, the different ways you can go in door 2, 3, or 4, and still be excited about it, because defeat happens every day in everyone's life, inside work, outside work. So I think it's um, finding a way to get excited about solutions.
Mm. It's fantastic. The quickest way I sum that up is reminding myself to think, what if it was easy? And that just helps me unlock a different way to think about things. But I like the way you've put it. What's behind doors 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's so many options to get something done. I've got 5 questions that I want to ask you just off the top of your head, rapid fire. But before we do, I just want you to give a really quick plug for the awards, just summing up where people can vote and how long they've got to vote for the next ones.
So the 13th annual Reality Television Awards is coming up. You can submit your shows now, and the voting will start this fall. And maybe you will be one of the 26 categories we have, and you might be a winner. So production companies, networks, producers, anyone can go submit their show now on our website, realitytelevisionawards.com.
Looking forward to seeing who enters this next round. So we'll get on to our rapid fire questions. What's a reality TV show that you would have given anything to produce?
Big Brother. I just think that show is just over the top, the 24/7 recording. I think it's an iconic show, and I still watch it. I'm looking forward to watching the US version this summer.
What's the best piece of business advice that you've ignored but wished that you didn't ignore it?
Double check your work
Yes.
every day. I like to, I'm very fast moving, but you always should double check your work, and that's my weakness.
What's the one tool or app or system that you could not run the American Reality Television Awards without?
Wow, that's a good question. I would say that there's an app called Casting Crane, and we use that as the back end of our submissions for our website. And it's almost like a form builder, but everyone submits their shows, it's embedded into our site, and everything is searchable and easy.
I like the searchable aspect too on your site. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
What's one thing that small business owners would universally be getting wrong with their marketing that you see that you just want to shout at them and say, stop doing that?
I would say spending money without researching what it's going to go to. A lot of
Mm,
people will spend money and maybe it has no metrics. So if you're going to spend money, make sure it has metrics. Make sure you know where your money is going and what's doing well and what's not doing well. If you just sponsor an event, for example, you might not have any feedback. If you don't have anyone telling you what it's doing, but if you're
mm,
spending money on, LinkedIn advertising or something, you see exactly who's clicking in, what impressions you have, so you can make your own decision, but you have that metrics.
mm. It's very good advice. Andrew Ward, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to seeing how the 13th awards unfold.
Thank you. Happy to be here.